What's up, Sales RXers? Welcome to today's episode. You know that I have a soft spot in my heart for SDRs, and ultimately, the reason being is the function of the SDR role is what I've done most of my sales career. I've been a full cycle seller for 6 years before I joined the software world, and then when I joined the world of SaaS, I started as an AE, but was very well known for my ability to generate my own opportunities when the SDRs weren't really doing their job. It's a struggle. We all face it. And being good at outbound is a skill that is always going to be important as a salesperson. I don't care if you're a 35-year-old enterprise account executive, if you still have the ability to some effect to generate some of your own opportunity and supplement your pipeline, you're never going to lose. It's just a matter of fact. And so that's why I'm super thrilled about today's guest. You all may know him. His name is Tom Slocum. He's the founder of the SD Lab, which is an outbound consulting agency. And he's going to discuss some of the ways that SDRs, or really anybody doing cold calling and doing outbound cold outreach, can break away from their script, find their footing, and then also how we as sales leaders can do better at developing our outbound sellers. So without further ado, let's jump in and hear some of Tom's wisdom, and then stick around to the end of the episode for a special offer from the Sales RX community to you.
Why reps should break away from the script and what kind of benefits they can see when they start improving and free-flowing a little bit more, as long as they're making sure they understand their prospects' objectives and where it aligns with our value proposition as a seller.
This is such a fun topic to talk to you about, and something that's kind of resonated with me over the coming months. You know, when you look back on your career, you try to find your superpowers, you try to see what those fundamentals were, right, to get you to where you are. And I think one of them, and a skill that I would love for sales reps to double down on in 2023, is improv, right? Being able to play off of things, because in the world of sales, especially as an SDR and AE, you never know what call you're going to get. There's a few assumptions you can make in certain things, but every call should be unique. It cannot be cookie cutter, and scripts just really mess people up. They force them into a box that might not necessarily be their style. The way that the questions are being delivered is not really in their wheelhouse. And so, like you said, these scripts just need to be a North Star. Like, just show me what I need to go through, how the call should flow, but also I need to account for, 30% of that just being winged, per se, right? Just improv, playing off the energy of your prospect or the person on the phone, right? And when you can do that, you're active listening, you're building a deeper relationship, and my favorite, you're bringing in relevancy, right? If me and you are talking and, maybe I wasn't focused on the screen and you ask me a question and I come back and start talking about something completely different, you're like, Tom, hey, are you here? Hello? Are you paying attention? Because you're just trying to check that next script box, right? Hey, what's your budget for this? Just make that natural in the conversation, flow with them. And so I think scripts are great. I'm an advocate when you first get on the phones. You need something because you have no idea where to take the call. But don't be confined by it. Don't force questions in there. Don't force little pieces that you have to go. Be water. Just flow. Bring in those questions as they come appropriate, and just talk. And it'll change the game for you, right? Your calls will go a lot longer. You'll be able to start effectively being able to book more meetings, close more deals, because you're just building a conversation versus an interrogation, right? Who wants to be interrogated? I got 5 questions to ask you, the BANT methodology, right? Budget, authority, need, timeline. We get that those things need to be addressed, but they don't have to be in a certain order. They just need to flow through the conversation, get what pieces you can get, right?
Yeah. So I know you consult a lot of sales teams with outbound and go-to-market strategies. I know you also work with a lot of SDRs and BDRs and helping them overcome all the challenges that come with being an SDR and a BDR, right? One of the many, many challenges. So if I'm a struggling SDR and I'm like, man, Tom, I got this script my boss gave me, but I just feel like I can't deliver it right. And you listen to my call and you're like, yeah, you are confined by a script. How do you help me start breaking away from that script? Like what kind of recommendations do you make, or like how can I start breaking away from that script and start finding like what works for me? Is it just a matter of like saying, okay, well, these are some of the goals of the conversation, so these are some of the ways you could ask those questions and see what flows more natural? Like what's step one for me in terms of breaking away from that script that you would advise?
Yeah, great question. It's these scripts confine you, and so the very first thing you want to do is study it, understand it, right? Know where you need to go in the conversation. What are those key elements of that script? What's the outcome? First off, analyze the outcome of the script. What is the company that's provided you this for? What are they trying to do? And then it's a lot of practice. Like it's just practicing. And so what I would do is start doing team trainings and exercises where I would have you sit back to back with another fellow SDR and role play a call out without the script and just let you play off of it, right? And all I want to do, one of these folks dropped a great tip on what my post the other day is the question game. What I would love to do with you, Chet, is just start playing the question game where both of us have to go back and forth speaking only in the form of a question until somebody stumbles up. So you could do like a battle round with that, right? You get your team in a room. You say, hey, we're going to battle up in twos, and everybody's going to advance, right? And whoever gets stuck first. Because you just want to ask questions. You want to engage. And so it's just practicing how to get away from the script and find your own flavor to it, but keeping that structure, right? So that's one. We could do a role play, turn yourselves back to back, just talk. And what I want you to do is play off of whatever the person says first. So Chet, you say, my outbound process is broken. I'm really struggling going into 2023. My next question isn't, hey, what do you have budget allocated for this? It's more, okay, what challenges are you having within your outbound right now, and what is top priority going into 2023? Well, it's this. Okay, great. Talk to me more about that, right? And so you just keep drilling and keep finding things, because what's going to happen is you're going to uncover, those moments where you can ask for a meeting or know it's going somewhere. So role play it out back to back, eyes closed, just play off of each other's sentences and build a story. And then 2, play the question game. Start asking each other as many questions as you can to continue playing off of one another. I make skits up. I would love to play skits. So I would make a skit happen in front of the whole team and let you play it out. But then I would throw things at you during the skit, right, to throw you off your game. So I'd give you the script. I'd say, hey, role play this call out. And then I would derail you on purpose, right? And you would think the script's going this way, but I'm going to throw, something in there because I want to see how you can play off of it, right? And so that's another great thing is just, throw some random things at your rep when you're role playing with them and see how they act, right? Because the script has got to go. It's got to eventually get out of your repertoire. I don't think it is a long-term answer to the way that you cold call or prospect, but it is a great North Star to just get the basis running. But those are a couple things that you can implement right now with your team, with your friends. I would cold call, have you make 5 calls to contacts in your phone and just play a conversation off. Just see how it goes, right? Like open up the call and just play it out with no expectation, no North Star, just play off of what they're saying. And then, of course, get an improv cast, right? I think it's a huge skill. I want to see a lot more teams offering it in 2023 to their teams and to their companies, because that's what sales is all about. It's just feeding off the energy of the prospect, because a script just makes you feel robotic, makes you feel disengaged with your prospect. They just feel like you're cookie cuttering it with them, just like you are everybody else. And nobody wants to be treated like that.
Yeah, and that's interesting that you say about improv, because the company Snowflake, and I'm kind of paraphrasing the story a little bit because I've kind of lost it over time, but I know the core of it, and I can't remember. It was from a book I had read that one of the things they didn't have salespeople. I think it was Daniel Pink's to Sell Is Human. He talks about they didn't have salespeople. It's a very complex product, so they just let their solutions engineers and like product people, the people that were essentially going to architects and building the custom software for these companies, they let them sell. And they gave every single person that started there 2 different books. One was a book, it was kind of like a I think about some of the firefighters in 9/11 because it taught like about
Mm-hmm.
resiliency and bravery. And then the other was the book written by the gal who started Second City in Chicago, all about improv, because they just wanted a natural flow of the conversation and they didn't have a script, they didn't have anything to tie people to. They had key
Okay.
objectives and understandings. But look at Snowflake now, right? They're a multi-million-dollar company, well-funded, doing really well. But they didn't even have salespeople. They trained a bunch of people that were in product and program and engineers to be able to sell, and they did it really well. And half of their curriculum was centered around improv. So this concept of improv is interesting, and I agree. It's all about active listening, and that's what improv relies on. It's what did the last person say, and those
Right.
games too, and those skits that you talked about. That's really heavily used in improv. One of the classic games they
Mm-hmm.
use in improv is called "and so." Somebody will say something, and then the bridge is "and so," and then you take it from there. That's kind of how improv people play off each other when they do these shows, or they do these shows where it's like shout something out or shout out a place and a location and two people in a bar or whatever. It's they play off this method of "and so," which is really unique. I do think that there needs to be some structure in place, or else people will just run rampant. What are your thoughts behind frameworks, and what's a framework that you instill in the cold call cultures that you work with when you're doing your consulting and working with reps?
I teach formulas, man. I try to get people to understand formulas and structure, to the underlining of things, not this box, right? So it's more looking at how to approach a cold call in a way that works for you through a formula or like a structure there of, your opener. What are you going to do there? Let's focus on that opener. We got to nail that down, practice that, make sure that tone's there. As soon as that line's picked up, are you delivering it at a very nice neutral level? Are you picking up on those cues? Then we're jumping into, an open-ended question and topic starter, right? Then we're going to dive into, your value prop and the way that you're going to objection handle per se, right? No more handling, no more overcoming, but how are you going to unpeel the onion per se, right? That's the next layer. And then picking up on the cues on where to ask for the meeting and close the call. So those are like the four structured buckets that I want to look at. And I don't really give a script. I almost want everybody, if you're doing the right enabling and the right coaching and onboarding, you almost build the script with the person. So every single new hire actually has their own script. It's not just, here's our training book, here's our script, turn to page 2, let's start role playing that out. It's more of learning the styles of your trainees and your new reps over the coming weeks. And before they jump on that phone, you design a script that works for them, covering that formula and covering those main parts, right? You role play it out and just wing it at first. So I would get in a room and say, Chet, let's just talk, right? Pitch me SD Lab. You're going to pitch that, and then we're going to work backwards from there because I just wanted to see where you were going to take it, what you liked, what you didn't like. Now let's talk about your opener. What are some ways you like to open a call? What works for you? Do you want to ask permission? Do you not want to ask permission? Okay, let's build that out. Then I build a custom script for you, right? And I say, go try this out. We're going to tweak it. We're going to work on it. And we're going to find a way that it works for you. And then in 6 to 8 weeks, let's ditch that thing and let's just ride it out, right? Let's just go ride those calls. You found your flow. But that's where, I try to find my structures in cold calls is, just looking at those openers, piquing the customer's interest, right? You want to pique interest. You want to show them the buyer's view. So in this script and in this call, this is what you are trying to focus on, right? So it's the buyer's view. There's 5 pieces to the framework: friendly intro, why me, pique curiosity, put them at ease, present, give. That is what I teach. That is like the five structured scripts. So we're going to tackle your friendly intro. Hey, Chet, it's Tom over at SD Lab. How have you been? Cool. Why me? Hey, I'll keep this brief. I saw your post on your cold calling challenges going into 2023 and how you can really leverage closing more calls and converting them into meetings. Reason you should care about this is I'm finding a lot of SDRs are struggling with the same thing. And I was reaching out around, which one of them is hurting you, the opener, the middle, or the close. That shows them why you, right? Why did you pick up the phone? The relevancy there. And then pique curiosity, out of curiosity, what are you doing to approach this, these cold calls? And what are you doing to tear down the structure of that opener, middle, or close? Most of the people that I'm talking to are really struggling with the middle. And what they're doing is a few exercises around XYZ. Have you thought about that? That's going to get curiosity going. then put them at ease, right? Then they're going to object. They're going to come in with their thoughts. And I'm going to say, believe it or not, companies like, XYZ are struggling with these calls. And what they were able to do was go through my exercises and within a few weeks, start converting about 25% more on the phones, right? And without having to hire more people or risk their script or lose the identity of their team. Why I called was to see if I can invite you to a free training session on how we're going to do some cold calls in 2023. Do you mind if I send that over to you? Is your email XYZ? And so you go through this structure, right, to just structure that and those 5 levels, and then you just design that script to each rep or kind of focus on a script that covers those 5 boxes and that journey for a prospect, because that's all they're going to do in that first 30 seconds to 5 minutes that they're on the phone with you is, did you intro right? Do I know who you are, why you're calling? Did you pique my interest? Did you put me at ease? And what are you giving me or what's in it for me as to, why I would want to talk to you further?
Mm-hmm. I like that. That's really cool. Tom, as we close out the episode, anything that I didn't ask you that I should have that you wanted to talk about?
Ooh, that's a good one. No, I think we hit it, man. I think improv is it's just a new passion of mine. I'm getting really excited about just like how to master that skill now that I've found it to be kind of my superpower through the years. Is that after I kind of got over this script, I just started being able to be natural on the phone and just learn to let the prospect lead the way or make them feel like they're leading the way while I still had my control of the call of where I was going. And I loved it, man. I really appreciate you having me today and getting a chance to, talk about this topic.
Of course, and thanks for rescheduling our original call because my family all felt violently ill, as you're apparently dealing with now a little bit. So speedy recovery to your family. Tom, if people want to connect with you, what's the best way to get in front of you and ask you a question?
Man, LinkedIn, that's where I'm living. I'm loving that platform. I've got a large community over there. So hit me in the DMs. Voice memos are where it's at. If you want to drop a voice memo to me, that's something we didn't talk about. 2023, drop voice memos on LinkedIn. They are killer. But that's, drop me over there and find me over there. You'll find all my resources and anywhere else you can find me right from that one source of LinkedIn.
Perfect. And we'll have a link to Tom's profile URL in the show notes below, as well as links to all the sales resources with the Sales RX community that you can engage with moving forward. That's all we have for today's episode. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you all in the next one. Thanks, Tom.
What's up, Sales RXers? Thank you for listening to today's episode. We really appreciate you giving us the time in your day to listen to this week's installment, and I hope you found it insightful. That said, I did make a promise at the beginning of the episode that if you stuck all the way through, we would have a special offer for you, and we do. Now listen up, if you're anything like me, you know that social selling is critical to you and your team's success. It's not just enough to cold call and cold email anymore. You have to be doing something different to stand out from the crowd. Now that said, we spend a lot of time here at the Sales Doctor prospecting and social selling on LinkedIn, and it's very challenging. You have to get information to and from your CRM, track LinkedIn conversations, get prospect data. Next thing you know, you're 5 tools deep and you're spending all your time in this massive cross-reference of data and information. You're stepping on people's toes on different accounts with different contacts. You're messing things up. It's a pain in the butt. That's why I've partnered with Surf. They allow you to float your CRM on top of your prospects' LinkedIn profiles with a bilateral sync of not only activity and information related to your contact, but also they help you find your contact's information directly from LinkedIn. So if I go to a company's page that I'm prospecting and I want to find their head of sales and have a conversation, I don't need to manage a bunch of different tools. I can go exactly to his or her LinkedIn profile. I can add that contact to my CRM directly from LinkedIn. And I can also find their phone number and their email using Surf. The great thing is later on when one of my reps wants to go have a conversation with that head of sales, they can see any activity that I've had, that I'm the owner of the account, the life cycle of the lead or the contact. All the information from the CRM is back on the LinkedIn view. It allows us to sell more effectively and spend more time doing what we want to do, which is having sales conversations. So, I partnered with Surf, and they're giving a heck of an offer. In the show description, you'll find a link to download a free 14-day trial of their premium version of Surf. This is a tool that companies pay upwards of $400 per year, per rep, per seat and you get it for free for 2 weeks with 25 email finder credits. That's right. If you go to the link in the show description now and download the free 14-day premium trial of Surf, you will also be given 25 email finder credits as well. This way you can start prospecting and social selling on LinkedIn without having to navigate between multiple tools. So go in the show description, click on the link, download Surf today. Let me know what you think, and we'll see you on next week's episode.